Welcome back to Lighting Design 101 with your instructor Denise Remping. I am Denise Remping, come to bring you yet another lesson about basic lighting fundamentals and theory. This video is going to be about specials. Specials are lights you add to your basic lighting plot to add extra lighting effects to your design. In the last video, I discussed the McCandless Method, which gave you a full stage coverage and ensured that everything, including your actors and scenery, would be visible on stage to your audience. This method also adds dimension to your actors when you add color. However, for most shows, a basic full stage coverage is only the beginning. There are many ways you can add creativity to your design beyond just your 3-light McCandless system. To start things off, I want to first discuss lighting positions or locations. In the last video, I talked about what frontals are, lights that come from the front. An effective use of the McCandless method positions your lights 45 degrees up from your actor and 45 degrees out to either side. We also add an additional overhead light, which is slightly behind the actor, to wash out shadows and add further dimension. However, these are not the only positions your lights can be in. Let's begin with your frontal lights. 45 degrees up is a standard neutral position, but what if you put that light at a lower angle? Footlights are lights typically located on the front of the stage, angled upward toward your actors. The purpose of the footlight can depend on how you use it. Used at low intensity, footlights can help offset any shadows created by overhead lighting. However, when used at high intensity, they can have an effect not unlike sticking a flashlight under your face to tell a scary story. In other words, it can be a bit spooky. The use of the footlight can range anywhere from providing more frontal light on your actor to creating drastic shadows for a specific effect. Side lights are lights that light up your actors from the side. These lights can be located off stage in the wings, usually on lighting trees, or extremely close to your proscenium. Side lighting is not something you often see in natural settings, so side lighting is often used to create very specific looks. With side lights, the long horizontal edges of your actors are highlighted. When placed low, they combine the unnatural feel of side lighting with that creepiness of footlights. Many designers, myself included, like to call these lights shin busters because they are located at shin level and have been known to cause obstacles for unaware actors or dancers. A side light located up high, often on the extreme ends of an electric or attached to a fly rail, is called a high side. High sides, again, are used for very specific looks and are not seen a lot in natural lighting. You will see side lighting more often used in dance than in theater. Dance is known to be metaphoric and not to be taken literally, so unnatural lighting can add a lot to the artistic message of a dance. However, side lighting can have its uses in theater as well, depending on your production and the creativity of your design team. Backlighting is when actors are lit from the rear. We use a bit of backlighting in the McCandless method, although that is mostly overhead lighting. Backlighting highlights the edges of your actor that aren't hit by your frontals. At low intensity, backlighting can be used to add dimension to your actor. When used at high intensities, it can create some very powerful and dramatic looks. If you use just backlights and no frontals, for example, you create a silhouetted look. Backlighting can be low, it can be high, or it can be a wash, like from a cyc. Overhead lighting adds highlight to the top edges of your actors, which can be useful in creating outlines to their shape, popping them out of that flattened two-dimensional look I mentioned in the last video. But like other positions, when used at high intensities, it can create some very dramatic looks, not dissimilar from the effect of a footlight, just from the opposite direction. Intense overhead lighting can, for example, create spooky shadows on your actor's face. When considering the position of a light, you must consider the angle of effect you are going for and how it will strike your actor. I, for example, love to use side lighting as much as I can. I began my lighting design work in dance and came to really appreciate how side lighting illuminates the horizontal edges of actors and dancers. Let's move on to gobos. Gobos are bits of sheet metal used in lighting instruments to create designs or patterns in your lights. Gobos can be specific images, such as trees, clouds, stars, hearts, and so on, or a series of patterns, usually called breakups. Specific images can be fun to use for very specific looks. However, breakups are probably the most commonly used gobos in theater. Breakups are most often used to add texture to light. That is, they are used to create an assortment of different intensities all tightly grouped together in a specific area. They can, for example, be used to create the illusion of walking through a forest where, due to the trees, the sunlight comes through in a similar fashion, at different levels of intensity. Breakups can also be used to add texture to an otherwise solid or bland stage. Instead of painting a set to be textured, which can require hours of work and the cost of additional paint or man-hours, a lighting designer can achieve a similar effect by adding color and gobos to lights. A stage covered with breakups can be far more appeasing to the eye than just a brightly lit up stage with no patterns or texture. I would not, however, recommend this for productions with busy sets or costumes with lots of texture and patterns, as it will become overkill to the eye. Ellipsoidals are typically the instruments you will find with the ability to hold gobos. As I mentioned in the first video, the barrel of an ellipsoidal can be adjusted to sharpen or soften your focus. For a gobo with a specific image, a sharper focus will be necessary, but for breakups, you may want to go with a softer focus to blur the distinction between light and shadow, which can create that texture I mentioned on stage. The last addition to a lighting design I'm going to discuss is color. Color can add a great deal to a look on stage. Different colors can elicit different emotions or can indicate time of day or location. The color red can imply danger, anger, or heat. Blue can imply sadness, nighttime, or cold. Orange is great for sunsets or interior lighting. Yellow creates an old world or faded feel. It can also be used for sunrises. Green is often used in forest settings or to imply sickness or when something is off. Roses, pinks, and some shades of violet can imply love or youth. Many lighting instruments will come with color frame holders, ellipsoidals, Fresnels, par cans, and so on. Color filters or gels can be purchased online. Companies like Roscoe can provide designers with gel swatch books, filled with swatches of all the colors available. In addition to color, you can also purchase filters that diffuse light. These are especially great for par cans. If you recall in the first video, I mentioned that par cans tend to have a very hot or intense center to their beams. A diffusion filter can help spread that intensity out more. In the next video, I will talk a bit more about how you can combine all of these elements together to create different looks on stage. To establish what specials you are going to need and where to hang them, you need to start by examining the looks you want to create for your show. More on this in the next video. For now, this is your basic examination of your different options, where you can place your lights, how you can use gobos and colors, and what each of these can add to an overall lighting design.